What's up, YouTube? Welcome back. Very frustrating day for me today. So, when you ask for a catalytic converter or asking for a catalytic converter repair, if you're not hearing from the service advisor or service place on why the catalytic converter has failed, that is an indication you are at the wrong place. And what do I mean by that? Catalytic converters do not fail on their own. Something is causing it. And I'm going to give you a scenario. So we have a used car dealer, Stars, that we do tons of exhaust work with. Tons of used car recondition work, and many other used car dealers, right? And typically when we get these vehicles, they're not maintained, and they don't know the history of it before they purchase it. So sometimes they're flying blind. They only know what's on the surface. The tires are bald, the brakes are bald, the engine light's on, blah, 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 blah. They don't know if it's got carbon on the valve, the spark plugs are bad, the fuel injectors have never been done, filters, on and on and on. So we had two of the same Honda Accords in here. One, we did a manifold direct fit catalytic converter on with an aftermarket part. And we advised doing a tune-up and a fuel injection service and a GDI. And we covered all the basics at that point. Now mind you, it's around 100,000. But we don't know the history of the engine, so we're just trying to get a baseline. We put the catalytic converter on, and 1 week later, the customer's back in efficiency code again. So the customer's back, I'm like, it's possible, it's a blend product. Not normally is that the case. So I said, all right, we'll put another one on. I pulled the oil stick during that job, and I noticed, damn, this thing's down a quart of oil. So I didn't check it previously. So we changed the converter, we sent the customer on the way. Phone call again. Check engine lights back on. What's going on? Bring the car back in. Excuse me, pull the oil dipstick, down another quart of oil in a week. I'm like, here's the problem. Excessive oil consumption. So we talk to the dealer, we tell the customer, hey, there's nothing we can do, we're just burning too much oil. And I should have, I didn't do the original converter, and the initial technician didn't see the sooting on the air-fuel ratio upstream O2 sensor when he did it, but I noticed it when I did it the second time. So the following week, the same exact car, because they sell a lot of Hondas, very popular vehicle, around 100,000 miles. In for a catalytic converter. So we recommend doing the same services. We never saw that car back again for a check engine. Same exact car, same exact product line, but not the same exact internal problems going on. And the point to the story is that there's something that's causing it, and sometimes it could be product, and sometimes it's not product. Most of the cases, it's not a product problem. There's very slim cases that it is a product problem. But when you ask for a catalytic converter, you've been driving around for 2 years with your check engine light, and your car has 100,000 miles on it, and it's never had a tune-up, it's never had a fuel injection, or a GDI service, or a throttle body service, and you think it's maintained because you get your oil changes done every 10,000 miles. You are sadly mistaken. Sadly mistaken. Instead of, standing on the other side of the phone or the counter, and I'm just saying this in general, acting like you know what you're doing, you wouldn't be here if you knew what you were doing. You wouldn't be here with a check engine light on if your car was maintained meticulously. But when the service provider is telling you, hey, you need a tune-up, unfortunately that costs more money, and you may not want to hear it. And it is what it is. I went to the heart doctor, and he said, hey, we need to do a bunch of tests, right? No different than when you go into the doctor's office, right, there's a charge, you're paying something, or the insurance company's paying something, then his recommendation is test after test after test. Well, diagnostic is some test, and even the doctors don't get it right on certain tests. They miss things, their people miss things, the tests are incomplete, on and on and on. So it could take a few times before they figure out what's wrong with you, if they could even figure out what's wrong with you. It's no different here in the Meineke shop. So specifically catalytic converters, that's what we specialize in. We know the signs, we know the conditions, we know what to look for. And as soon as you start talking 100,000 miles and you haven't maintained your car, that is a can of worms for you and I. Because you don't want to hear, after I do the job, that you don't have a warranty because you didn't want to pay for a diagnostic and the repairs that were required to keep the check engine light out. Not including that your engine's consuming a quart of oil every 2,000 miles that's just coating the catalytic converter inside. be more receptive to the service right away. Sometimes it's not sometimes, most of the time it's in your best interest to take care of your car. You're going to get better fuel economy. You're going to have better peace of mind that you're driving around in a well-maintained car that's not going to leave you stranded. You know, my Toyota Sequoia started misfiring the night we were going to the Motley Crue concert. And I was like, damn, is it the transmission? I wasn't sure. I didn't have any scan tools with me, but it felt like the trans was bucking or it was misfire. Well, guess what? As soon as I got back to the shop Monday, we pulled the spark plugs out. They looked okay. They weren't horrible, but they weren't going back in the engine, and we found coil problems. So guess what would have happened if I would have continued to drive the car with it, even if the misfire went away? The misfire would be slight enough over a period of time to burn up the catalytic converter. Sometimes there's early warning signs, just like heart disease, and sometimes there's not. I'm still going through the processes of figuring out what's wrong with my blood pressure and my heart and all that stuff. And this is 3 months later. I still don't have any conclusions yet. Internal problems, just like an engine. Internal problems. Some can be maintained, some can be corrected. Some things can't be. But I'm trying to make a relationship between the customer asking for something and then not getting the right answers when they go someplace else. I hope that's made sense to some people. But just to be, instead of being receptive, you're not being receptive. And this is most of it. Well, why do I need a tune-up? I don't have a misfire. You're so wrong. You're so wrong. Because the world has programmed you to say, well, it's not misfiring. It's not misfiring to the point to where you can feel it. But what else is wrong with your car? Well, that needs to be determined. Your car has 40,000 miles on it and the catalytic converter failed. It's typically under warranty. In most cases, it's not. But something caused it to prematurely fail. It could be the tune in it. It could be the way that you're fueling it. It could be anything. But there has to be a reason why. They just don't fail on their own. Thanks for watching.